Hey guys, welcome to Careers Uncorked. This is your co-host Sid.
And this is your co-host Sharfuz.
At Careers Uncorked, we host some amazing guests and hear their incredible stories.
And we're super excited to have you join us today.
Sharfuz, I still can't get over that intro video. It's so good.
It's pretty bad. I do not sound good. I do not look good. The camera angle is bad. The lighting is bad. How's the lighting right now? Is it any better?
I think you should take off your glasses.
I hope it is.
Then that's the look you haven't tried yet.
Oh God. Okay. I said I just thought you froze. So don't froze. Don't go freeze again. I just thought you froze there. But yeah, dude. Happy. What day is it today? Is it Wednesday or Saturday?
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, dude. How was your long weekend?
My long weekend was great. We actually wrapped up a couple of things for Careers Uncorked. We launched a new podcast for international students, which is pretty awesome. So that's live on Apple Podcasts.
We did launch a new podcast.
Sorry?
Yes. We have a. No, we have a. Yeah, it's a
Yes or
very
no?
exciting initiative from us. Our first. So I think I'm coming off a little slow from my end, but I'll let that go for now. But yeah, you wanna introduce the session for our audience today?
All right, Sharfuz. I unfroze myself.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Wait, Sid.
Yeah.
Cool. With that technical difficulties, we have a allocation being there. Tell us about our session today. Who do we have on for our guest?
So we had a welcome message from our guest, and it was super exciting. It's someone working at NASA, and this is also my college roommate. So it's weird. We go a long way back. I remember Chris from back when I was very young, and we did like college stuff, a lot of drinking. Chris was huge on beer and whiskey, and then we also did rowing together. So it was super exciting times.
All right. Yeah. No. I remember from the conversation with Tolga that you were showing some pictures of Chris as well.
Yeah, Chris was there too. Chris and I were actually paired up on the boat. We were the stern pair, so we would row together. Tolga was sort of at the back because he wasn't as good.
All right, so you guys were on the boat. You guys made it to the boat, and now we're here today at the session. So yeah. Let's bring Chris to the stage. I heard he's working in a job that is out of the world or something.
That was a neat little punch, Sharfuz. How are you doing, Chris?
Good.
So, Chris, you have to start us off with who was your best rowing pair? Was it me or was it someone else? Because you rowed with a couple of people.
I don't know. I think maybe Yehuza.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I hope Yehuza's tuned in because it's not me.
Yeah, we were bow pair.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is so long back, I barely remember. But yeah, I remember that summer too when we were rowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chris, really quickly, give us an introduction for the audience. Tell us about yourself, what you're doing, and where you're living, because you sort of moved around a couple of places.
I have. Yeah, so I'm actually from Norway, over the Atlantic, and I traveled to the US to study. So I studied at the U of R, where I met Sid at rowing, and there I studied optical engineering. And after that, I did a couple of things. I traveled a little bit, so I didn't accept a job right away. I took a long sailing trip and relaxed, enjoyed life, and then eventually took a job here at NASA Goddard Space Center outside of DC, and yeah, that's where I have been now for almost 9 months.
Wow, that has to be exciting. I mean, people usually plan their career along the lines of like, oh, I want to get to here someday, but I think working at NASA just sounds like the coolest job ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, I can't complain.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody at some point had a dream to work at NASA. At some point in their life. Yeah,
sure.
and that's awesome, Chris. Yeah, excited to hear more about that. But before we jump in, I'm just curious. Since you're from Norway, how do you feel about the Northern Lights? That's what matters to me the
Yeah.
most.
So I haven't really seen them, as you see them in most of the pictures if you Google it. But I mean, certainly it's pretty cool that you can like see the interaction of the sun and the magnetic field of Earth.
Wait, have you not seen it in real life? For me, like the Northern Lights are like my goal. I have to see them before I die. That's like the most beautiful thing that ever exists in the world. I wanna like
Yeah.
watch the Northern Lights and eat a burger
Burger?
and drink a beer. That's my goal in life. That's my happy place in life.
Yeah.
I'm like serious.
Chris is
No,
not
But yeah,
that's pretty cool.
but yeah, Sid. I think we could start off with us learning a little bit about Chris's college life a bit. So Chris, let's start off with what we're curious is that when you look back at college, what are some of the most significant experiences for you that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, I think rowing is a big part of it just because that was one of the first things I did when I arrived at college. And that's where I met a lot of the people that I, spent a lot of time with in college. We just, everyone arrived there
Mm-hmm.
and we just started waking up super early and we saw like some people be like, I'm just gonna quit. And then we just kept going. So it was this like bonding experience, I guess. So that's definitely a big part of it. And other than that, I mean, there are definitely some courses that are extremely valuable when I think back on them. I mean, one of the economics courses I will say is pretty influential on you.
Yeah. Was it the one
Yeah,
that you
well,
took with your cruise?
was
It
it
was like
207?
I would say the intro was like the most influential.
108.
Yeah,
Right.
108 with Rizzo.
So that's interesting you said that. Well, Rizzo, hats off to him, an amazing guy. But like oftentimes, and this is such a big conversation these days, that what you learn in college does not translate to what you do in your actual job. So how does
Yeah.
108 relate to optical engineering, what you're doing right now? And B, do you also agree with this sentiment about the gap between academics and job market?
Yeah, so I mean, I studied optical engineering, so I studied a lot of optics. So I will say that definitely that does play a big role in what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
So I do use that a lot. For the other classes, I won't say that I directly use that knowledge, but definitely that way of thinking does help you in different ways, right? So economics, it will certainly influence how you think about specific problems.
Mhm.
So it's still valuable, but it might not be directly valuable, I would say.
That makes sense. Yeah, I guess it changes the way you think, right? And
Yeah.
like sort of it gives you a lot of different lenses to look things at.
Yeah, certainly.
I like how people are throwing lenses and optics everywhere, wherever you find this body.
We'll make the point of this session is to make as many puns as you can. That's literally the point of this session.
You gotta see the lights.
But yeah, gotta see. I love it. Before we jump onto the cool NASA stuff, which I know Sid is excited to talk about, I'm curious that I know that Sid uses his rowing example for a lot of things, and he just plugs it to showcase different personalities and qualities, which I don't know if he has or not. But have you learned much? Do you think the rowing as an extracurricular in general gave you some skills and value that added to your life post college, or you learned in your personal development itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just exercising that much and that consistently and just learning how to persist in something specific like that, it's just a really valuable lesson, right? It's not really, I mean, everyone starts at a different place, right? I mean, we all came in, everyone was totally different. And then we just, erged and rode every single day. And we got better and better. And just seeing that progression and just seeing that direct work pay off, Yeah, I mean, certainly it's a very honest and valuable thing to do.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I definitely see the value in having a discipline there. It seems like a very tough routine to just wake up at 6.
yeah.
In college, in college I went to bed at 6.
Yeah, trust me, that is the hardest part.
I mean, sometimes you did that too, and you still had to go straight there.
True. We pull all-nighters and go straight to rowing. That happened to me a couple of times, actually, just studying for exams and stuff, and then just I'd be up already, so I just put on my uni and go row and come back and start studying again.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No.
So let's talk a little about your summers, Chris. Over the summers while you were in college, was there anything you did in specific in terms of research or any internships that you had?
Yeah, so I really didn't do that much internships compared to a lot of other people. I only did one real internship with a startup back home in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually pretty different than I guess what most internships are, because it was a relatively early stage startup, and they worked in fish farming industry,
mm-hmm.
Collecting data on the fish. So it's a pretty novel area to do business.
Yeah.
And they made these robots that look at the fish with different cameras, and they had a pretty advanced AI.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That looked at the size and I guess how skinny they were and all that.
Yeah.
And tried to figure out how many fish, and just take a lot of data from that fish farm. So I just came in and I was there to look at the actual optics and to try to make some computer vision algorithms to collect more data.
That's really interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought about that aspect of even AI and then furthermore optics in terms of fish farming. It seems like a pretty impressive thing to be working on.
Yeah. So they also shot because a big problem for fish farms is that they get these lice.
Yeah.
So they actually had a laser on there to shoot off the lice as well.
Wow.
So it's pretty intense.
So the lasers,
wait.
and the rays, they shock the fish?
Yeah, so it didn't shock since they have the silver. So the fish that they were actually farming is salmon.
Okay.
Which is the most farmed fish in the world. And it's a pretty big industry. Yeah. Very big industry. Pretty much all the fish you buy in the US is farmed, like the salmon. But yeah, so they're silver coated, which is, it's pretty reflective. Yeah. So you shoot the laser in a visible spectrum. You actually don't harm the fish that badly. You just take out the lice. And that's much cheaper than the conventional methods of getting rid of these lice, where they stress out the fish. That's one way, or they put them in fresh water, which is extremely expensive because you have to bring all these fish out.
Wow.
And it's a pretty cool technological way to deal with farming.
That's crazy. If you really want to stress these fish out, especially the salmon, you just got to centrifuge there.
So Chris, just to get it straight, you have some salmon fishes which are undoubtedly very delicious. I have some in the fridge.
Yeah.
Great. Appreciate all the work, man.
Yeah.
Not that you had anything to do with it, but then you have some lices.
Yep.
You had some lices that you need to protect the fish from. And if I'm getting it correctly, to protect those salmon, you got some cool ass laser beam that you're shooting at the lice to protect the fish. You're getting this whole laser beam machine to shoot lice to protect the fish.
Yeah.
No wonder
that's
at the restaurant costs so much. We're paying for Chris's bills out here to shoot lasers at people.
Dude, that's first world problem right there. using laser beams to kill mosquitoes to protect a fish.
Yeah, no. No, apparently funny. People use this for many things. They use it for actual farming too. You can have drones and they take out weeds.
Wow.
Well,
so.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's one of the aspects that I never really thought about. Optics. So that's really awesome. So let's sort of speak about what your take was going into senior year in college. Was the plan to stay in the U.S. and find a job? Was it to go back to Norway? Because I know you mentioned you traveled after graduation. So what was sort of going through your head at that time?
Yeah. So definitely, I did want to stay in the U.S. just because the optics market is way bigger in the U.S. While in Norway, it's relatively small. So I definitely wanted to gain as much experience here in the U.S. as possible. But I still really wanted to take a long break, just because the time after college, it doesn't really matter that much in the big scheme of things. In terms of similar, like when you switch jobs early on, it's okay to take a few months if you want to do something. And I wanted to sail a little bit, which is something I hadn't had time to do before.
Yeah.
So I took a few months off. So that was my plan going into senior year. My optimal plan was to actually have a job, lined up, so I could just go and sail and then go straight to work afterwards. So that didn't work out. So I had to sail and then apply for a few more months afterwards too. So
wow. That's crazy. So I actually remember this because Chris was in the middle of, I don't know where, but he would send me Snapchats just randomly. It wasn't something I was expecting, but he'd be out there sailing. He looked like he was almost about to die every second. There was like a storm incoming and he was hanging off the boat. I envy you. Like, that's absolutely crazy. And considering that you want to do that after work, that's something else. After work, I'm like on the bed. I'm about to sleep.
That's impressive. Like, where did you go sailing? Like, what was that? An ocean, like a big pond, like a body of water?
Yeah, so I fixed up this boat over 3 years, like a 50-year-old boat, like a very small sailboat, so 27 foot.
Wow.
So it's pretty solid, but it's very small and does not have any kind of luxury. It's it's a foot pump to get water. You have no fresh water. You have to drink from bottles that you collect. Your kitchen is just like a gas stove, a hiking stove essentially, and it's not stable either, right? Because you're out on the ocean. So so I took this boat after I fixed it up over the North Sea. So I started off in Oslo and I sailed around the southern coast of Norway, and then over halfway to Iceland to like this small island group called the Faroe Islands, and then back. And I did this with like an old friend who I hadn't really seen that much, but in like a long time, because I was studying in the US and all that, right? So we got to spend 2 months together, just sailing.
Wow! So you were like on the boat for like 60 days, just on that small boat.
Just living there, yeah. We did have a couple nights on a hotel when we came to Shetland just after a pretty rough passage.
That's crazy. People make movies about this kind of stuff,
Yeah, it's like life of five.
Not that bad.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't that extreme, but it was good.
I bet. I was here like, I think it was 7 days after graduation. Like I took absolutely no break. I went straight to work. It was absolutely crazy. It was less like graduation and then straight to work like a week later, and I moved cities and everything. So it sounds pretty awesome that you got to take that time off and just sort of explore doing what you want to do. Because again, there wasn't really a time restriction, right? Like it's your first job after college, so you were able to do everything you wanted to.
Exactly. Yes, I really recommend that. Just if you want to do something, just do it, when you can. And,
for sure. Yeah, I was actually watching this video earlier today, and it was speaking about how when you're younger, you have the ability to do other things that won't really impact you as much. When you get older, you have a family and stuff like that. It's a lot harder to make time to do these like things that you want to do, especially because you have other people sort of depending on you, and you have like a more stable job. So I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it can feel pretty stressful because you get that stress when you finish college, and have your parents telling you, you need to get that job right away. You need to start making a lot of money. You have like all those stresses, but I mean, I think as long as you don't go crazy with, you got to do something that you can actually do and accomplish. I mean, you're always going to have those stresses, right? So you need to kind of let go of them to some degree, I think, at least.
Yeah. All right. So let's quickly touch upon NASA just in general. How did you make it there? Like when you got back to the U.S., you did your amazing sailing trip, where you sort of let yourself go and enjoyed your time. You got back to the U.S. What happened after that? What was the role you were taking on, and how did that lead to the NASA object? Did I say object?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking coding.
Yeah. So I mean, once I got back to the States, I was just applying to pretty much all the positions that I could think were good for me. So I definitely didn't try to I didn't apply to anything. I was still pretty selective in terms of focusing on things that I think I could do okay. And I applied to and interviewed at startups and larger tech firms too. And it's just like the whole role. You just do a lot of those. And eventually, I finally did get an offer from this. So it's a contracting firm for NASA, which is most of the people that work for NASA.
Yeah.
So the way it works is, you have a lot of contracts, but generally a lot of those contracts can be very long term. So for the one that I'm on now, it's for I'll pretty much be working at NASA for at least a few years. So that's how that is. Like, if I continue there, of course. So it's a pretty long contract.
Wow.
But yeah, it was pretty much the old story of just getting back to the US, pretty stressed, and just tried to apply a lot and talk to as many people as I could. I actually did as almost a side project, I guess, with a startup in Colorado, where they just to do some optics. I was way underpaid, of course, but I at least got something. And I did some work for this dude who's like running his own startup, pretty much out of the basement. He's like this PhD in so he didn't have the research to get someone full time or anything.
Wow.
It was super cool because I got to use some expensive software, so it's still worth it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely think the experience in that end is so much more important than the paycheck any day. That's good.
Yeah. So that's like the whole deal with that.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of what's that phrase, Shafuz? Shoot for the moon, land on the
land at Houston.
Yeah,
land at NASA.
Yeah, Kristoffer literally took the spaceship and like he's up there now. But yeah, that's absolutely great. I love how you sort of how you just came to the US and you were really focused on good opportunities, but you also started building your skills on the side to have relevant experience to show. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. Chris, do you think that you getting that contract job at NASA, do you think it was a small step for you, but a big step for your life?
I don't know. I mean, so NASA is a pretty big player in optics, right? So optics is not that large as like computer science or many of the other engineering disciplines. So it's not like it's just a lot of optics people in general there compared to other places where people do optics.
Okay. Yeah, I think thanks for the genuine response. I think everybody missed my pun over there.
Yeah,
I actually tried.
But it felt like a long shot.
A big step for a man, like small step for a man, big step for mankind. Okay, never mind. But Chris, I know Sid has a question, but I'm curious that so you started as a contract sort of a role. So I think a lot of people out there are not aware of, especially college students, like what's the difference between a contract role and a full-time role. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm pretty sure it's not something we're always familiar with while we're recruiting in college. how would you explain the difference, and why is a contract position still a great opportunity for students, recent grads?
Well, so I mean, I can only talk for NASA. So for NASA, if you're actually working in NASA, you're almost more like it's like university role almost. I mean, you can just stay there forever, and you're pretty much almost doing research at that point, right? So you're at least working on a project that you have a lot of. You're gonna spend a lot of time on that project and just kind of like lead that through. So yeah, if you're a contractor too, you can like play around with different projects. So I think it really depends on like where you are. I think I mean NASA just has a lot of contracts just because a lot of the projects they involve very specific equipment, for example, right? So and maybe NASA doesn't have that equipment, right? So they use a contractor to get it. And a lot of those are defense contractors, for example. So you can have Lockheed Martin, have a bunch of people working there for like a long time. So I mean, I think it's pretty similar. It's just that if you're kind of tenured if you actually work for NASA, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, thanks for that. I think definitely a good takeaway from there is that if you are going for a contract role, just figure out what the opportunity is and what the experience would be like. I guess it definitely could vary from companies to companies. So I think that's really interesting. But yeah,
well, definitely know before you sign anything. Of course, it's going to be different for every contract or company.
For sure. Yeah, and make sure you can have Chris review the contract if you need. He has. All right. So with that, I'd like to jump on to a very exciting segment, Chris. It's called Questions from William. So we're just going to kick it off. It's sort of like a rapid fire round. So we're going to shoot a question at a time, one from me, one from Shafuz. First question, I'll get it started. It's what's your hidden talent?
Wait, what did you say?
What's your hidden talent?
Hidden talent?
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe fly fishing.
Can you explain what that is for our audience?
Fly fishing?
Yeah.
It's fishing just using a non-weighted lure. So you're, I mean, if you have a fishing rod and you have a line that goes out, and the end of the line you have a hook where you have some lure, right? So fly fishing, you have a very lightweight lure. So instead of using the weight of the lure to actually cast, you actually use the weight of the line to cast.
Wow, that sounds like very intense.
Yeah.
No, it's more like a relaxing kind of way of fishing, I guess.
I know how to fish.
Never had that experience, but it's definitely fun. I heard. Cool, Chris. Next one. What's your favorite food in college? From college so far?
So like eating on campus?
Yeah, campus or from Rochester?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, like honestly, like the rice bowls there. That was like the basic kind of food you can get. But it was pretty sad food in general.
Yeah, I lived with Chris for a year. He usually eats like Cliff Bars and like other kind of like hiking food. So he's not super big on like Rochester food.
It sounds like Chris. You're like preparing for the International Space Station or something. Training yourself.
Yeah. No.
You would have dehydrated beans for dinner.
That would be the day.
All right. Next question. Book or podcast recommendation?
So I just finished this book, which I actually really enjoyed on economic thought through the ages. Which is called The Worldly Philosophers. Definitely recommend that one.
It's an econ book.
Yeah, so this guy like writes about all the main economic thinkers since Adam Smith, essentially. and just writes a little bit about them, but it's not too boring, which it can pretty fast get with economics. So it's a very nice light read, and it's interesting. So if you're into economics, definitely, it's a good book.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Next question, Chris. What's your favorite rocket by NASA?
Favorite rocket?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really have too much to say about the different rockets, but I mean, the space shuttle, if that counts as a rocket, definitely say that's the coolest the coolest thing that's flown into space. If that makes sense.
Huh. I'm
Okay.
actually
The space shuttle. Okay.
I have no idea of like different types of. I only know about like what was it? Apollo 13.
The one,
I think that was the name of a mission, said not a rocket. That was the mission was called Apollo 13.
Oh shit! No way, really?
yeah,
I think so.
that's the one that went bad.
Yeah,
I
that's
think-
what
I mean, the Saturn V
Was-
was a very cool rocket too. It's a big one.
I mean, Chris, like working at NASA Starter Pack, you gotta be able to talk about rockets. Like, what do you think people will ask you about?
I mean, now they pretty much use SpaceX, honestly, to make the rockets.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, gotta give
The
Musk
Falcon.
that.
Gotta give Musk credit.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
We're gonna get to Musk in a second. But another question is, tell us something that not many people know about you.
Not many people know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that I played violin for a long time, like 12 years.
Wow. I actually knew that about you.
You know,
I didn't know that, so that's something. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's good to have like a creative skill.
Yeah.
Props for that, for doing that for so long. Yeah, so I have my next question for you is, what's a travel destination on your bucket list? It could be by air, by water, whatever it is for you.
Underwater.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would
So-
say Antarctica, maybe.
Antarctica?
Yeah,
Wow.
Antarctica?
it's a pretty large area, but
Chris, if you can tell already, this is like a space themed thing. We were thinking you're gonna name a planet or something.
I mean, once we can do it more safely and with better amenities, definitely. For now, I think honestly, Earth is a pretty good planet. I'm not gonna lie.
Earth is a
Alright.
good planet.
Sure is.
Okay.
Sounds good. My next question is, what's your favorite sport? I know you've mentioned a couple already, so it's a tough one.
Yeah, I think maybe sailing.
Sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually remember you quit rowing for I think one semester, one season, just so you could do sailing. I was really mad at
Yeah.
you, but then I left too, so I made up for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm surprised. I thought you were gonna say rowing, but I guess sailing wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I grew up sailing, I guess. So I'm a little more biased.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. So Chris, my next question for you is, describe your ideal kind of alien.
What do you mean by ideal alien?
What's
Like
a perfect alien for you?
A perfect
Like
alien.
physical characteristics or emotional characteristics or special abilities. Describe your perfect alien. Huh?
I mean, I would say like some kind of either like super advanced, kind of like a mechanical kind of species, right? That just it just like keeps occupying space with a thing that just recreates itself.
Oh, I know you're thinking Transformers, right?
Yeah, or I mean, kind of like the 2001: A Space Odyssey kind of
Mm.
creature, right?
Yeah.
just something that can go to another object in space and take the resources there and build a replica and then keep sending them away. That would be pretty cool.
So Chris's favorite kind of alien is one that procreates a lot. That makes sense. That is special.
Or farming.
Yeah, I think.
Next question we have is who is your favorite co-host, Sid or Shafuz?
Well,
I'm gonna give Sid this one.
You gotta go with your friend, Chris. So basic.
You've been roasting him for Shafuz. Like, why do you think he's gonna?
No, come on! I asked such clever questions, Sid. We didn't even have those on the script. I've been trying to make so many space puns.
For people watching, we actually don't have a script. This is non-rehearsed.
So we don't have a script. We don't use scripts.
All right, Chris. Let's jump into our next segment, which is life as an optical engineer at NASA. So this is something we're all really excited about. What is it like working at NASA? Like what is your role? What do you do as an optical engineer? Let's start off with that.
Yeah. So in general, people work on different projects, and in general, the projects can have pretty long time horizons. So the one I'm working on is called PACE, and the specific part of that project is OCI, which is stands for the Ocean Color Instrument. So it's essentially a camera looking down at Earth. So it's in low Earth orbit, and it's looking at a lot of different wavelength spectrums at the Earth, and it's doing this relatively fast and with pretty poor resolution. But it's doing it so fast that it can actually view the whole Earth every 2 days with a lot of good color data. So that's kind of the main mission that I'm working on. And for everyday life, so I'm in a few different teams on that project. So there are specific teams for different parts of the of each project, and for them I do different assignments. Mostly I do analysis, so I look through the what happens if we change this, for example, in the optics. If we change this train, what can we expect to change, and how can we model it, and how can we prepare for it, right? So it's very, very high quality work versus low cost consumer products. It's just we want to know as much as possible as we can about this thing before we shoot it up, so we can avoid any missteps.
Wow.
Just because it's so expensive to fix things once they're out. So you really want to prepare for everything and look at all the different things that may go wrong, and try to at least be aware of how's that going to affect the end product, which is going to be the data that we're going to give the different scientists.
Gotcha. So when you say you're an optical engineer, are you sort of working with the lens, or are you working with more of the back end, which is like programming the software?
Yes, I mean, in general, it's just the optics, but because lately I've been automating a lot of the stuff I'm doing, just so I don't have to redo a specific analysis for the project. So I have been using a lot of computational tools to try to automate the process. So it's definitely a lot of programming too.
Gotcha. Wow. I didn't know we had another coder in the family. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think everyone uses that now.
No, I think Chris could outcode both of us Shafuz. We're not good CS majors. But so I'm curious to see. So like, when I think of a company working remotely, I do not think of NASA being able to function remotely. So how are things happening, like within your team, and then even outside, like within the firm? Like, how are people sort of managing all these things with the pandemic going around?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting just because I didn't really see too much of NASA before the pandemic. I was only there a little more than a month, but yeah, in general, it's been working pretty well because everyone can just VPN into computers that are at like on site, like on campus at NASA. So you can use the computer hardware that is there to run, computation and so forth.
Wow.
So that's definitely a huge help for people like me doing analysis or design work. If you're actually in the lab testing, that's been halted. Now people are starting to get back and doing some testing, but definitely it's not the same as before. So especially because a lot of this is like done in it's done in clean rooms and has to be very high quality, and it's hard to just deal with these different kinds of masks. Just like no touching if you're trying to hold something. So that's definitely halted.
That's crazy. Gotcha.
So it's getting planned to Mars once it becomes possible to go at full speed.
So no one's going to Mars anytime soon, Chris?
That's going to be a big problem, but so I don't think anytime soon. But you can dream.
Oh, we have a question from the audience. So Michelle, hey Michelle.
Oh, hey Michelle.
Chris, say hi to Michelle.
Hey Michelle.
Well, so what's the best part and the worst part of working at NASA?
So I mean, I would say maybe the best part is, at least for me, is that there are a lot of optics people there, and a lot of them have a ton of experience with these kind of systems. So if you have any questions, like you will probably find someone there who knows an answer, or at least can like get you on the track to find an answer.
Nice.
The worst part, I mean, I would say the worst part almost is just like the campus is maybe it's a little older, and you have to go through security to get on there, and that's just a little weird.
Chris,
Chris, are you really saying that's so funny? That's like someone working for the CIA and being like, "Oh yeah, we have to like badge you in together."
They do make us do like the retina scan. They make me do a DNA test every day before work.
A DNA test to get to work.
Yeah. You can't run away.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, thanks for that question, Michelle. I hope Chris was able to answer that. Security is a real problem at NASA, apparently.
Too much security at NASA. It's just you just can walk in and use the computers there, man.
Yeah. So you're saying they don't leave the keys in the space shuttles?
What does this button do?
Oh, wow.
That's funny.
That is insane. All right. So I know, Chris, we covered briefly about this, but what does sort of an average day look like for you while you're working on your project? Like, what are some of the activities that you do, and how do you communicate with your team and keep that sort of going?
Yes, I mean, I've been pretty free, honestly. I was maybe expecting, which is actually very nice, because then I mostly just get a problem, and then I just I sit and work on that problem.
Okay.
And then so I do have some meetings where we discuss the problem and so forth, but it's very open-minded, and you can try to solve a problem in any way that you see the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I see.
That's pretty cool.
So it's definitely not micromanaging.
Yeah, I'm glad you have a lot more free time, so you can hang out with us. Spend some time on the Wednesday evening.
Chris has just been chilling.
Yeah.
But Chris, I think I caught you mentioning that there's like a good mentorship sort of a network there for you, like with optics and the similar background. Well, I'm curious about is like what's the work culture like overall? Like, is there more like a sense of innovation, or like, what do you know? Or what's your insight about work culture in general, maybe beyond your team, if you have gotten exposure as well as in your team? What does that look like?
Yes, I mean, I think one of the major issues with this is just related this is just space stuff, right? So a big problem with space stuff is that it's just very expensive when it goes wrong. So it's very hard to like try to innovate a lot, right? Because you can only send up that many rockets before you've spent your whole budget, right? I mean, it's going to cost $1 billion just for a project, so you can't really blow up too many of them. So that leads to a very careful attitude to problems, right? So you're not going to just be like, okay, let's try this and let's try this, which actually that's probably the best way to innovate. But you have to really look at what worked in the past. So it's definitely a culture of taking a lot of experience and trying to put that into each project, and just thinking a lot about all the small things that might go wrong, so that they don't go wrong, because it's just very expensive when things goes wrong. So the work culture, it's not too much. I mean, it's definitely trying to use the experience you have in the best way possible, while trying to innovate using it, but not taking too large leaps.
That's kind of funny, because like I would assume that, because at NASA you guys are dealing with things that are uncertain, right? That you guys don't know about, and you guys are exploring like the rockets. They're all like an adventure, so you can't. So you never know what to be prepared for, right? Like,
well, I mean, you can actually, so you can prepare a lot for the different launch loads, for example, right? So you can actually understand how the vibrations and how all that is going to be. That environment it's pretty well understood, but for sure you have a lot of uncertainty, and that's kind of a big problem with it. You don't know. I mean, you don't know until it actually goes off how it's going to work.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, Chris, here's like first. I just want you to hear from you, and this might be like an orientation type of question. But what's the goal of NASA? Like, what is their mission, and how does your work contribute to things in the grander scheme?
Yeah. So, I mean, for my work, that's related to observing the Earth. And looking at trying to learn more about our own planet in space, and I guess that contributes to just learning more about space in general, mostly just by getting good data about our whole planet, and just improving that.
Gotcha. And what's NASA's mission again?
Send rock. This sounds like an interview question, Sid.
No, it does. Okay. Honestly, I'll tell you the backstory of this question. I was looking at SpaceX's mission, and it was like for the evolution of mankind and stuff like that.
Wait, is that NASA's mission?
No, that's not NASA's. That's SpaceX. So that's why I was asking, what's NASA? NASA sounds like an administration, so they're like watchdogs for like space or something like that. But I was curious to hear Chris's perspective.
Yeah. No, actually, I mean, I don't know the full mission statement for NASA.
Anyone from NASA, someone please help Chris out. Send him a message after. Give him like that mission and that vision statement of NASA.
I just found out their vision statement. It's kind of cool. We reach for new heights and reveal the unknown for the benefit of humankind. So basically, like a paraphrase of SpaceX's mission statement. So it's like the same thing.
Probably the opposite.
I just felt like they used like the same words, but oh well, it's very fluffy. But I guess that's what something like that is, I guess.
For sure, yeah,
crazy. But yeah, that's super exciting.
Just to expand horizons.
Yeah. No, I think this is super exciting. Chris, before we go on a tangent and start asking like random stuff about space, because I've been watching a couple of shows and I'm hear your thoughts on like the whole like orbit and the system and different.
What about UFOs? Are UFOs real?
No.
You can ask YouTube and you will hear a lot of good responses, I think.
But Chris, from you, what do you think is the biggest leap, or what? Give us some like inside scoop on like what do you think the biggest leap is going to be in the future, in the near future, with aeronautics in particular?
Space exploration.
Space exploration, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting the cost down is going to be a huge innovation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we can like get the cost of bringing payloads into orbit
Yeah.
down by a lot, or even bring him in to the moon, that's going to be a huge innovation. So just really making it cheaper, and learning all these things, right? So about like the launch loads,
Yeah.
just understanding more about those processes, just gaining confidence, because we're still in that phase where we're not confident enough to really take big leaps. But I think that's going to help a lot, just to obviously, getting to Mars or getting people further out, exploring the solar system, going to moons of different planets.
Yeah.
Of course, that will all be very interesting, but it's a long road ahead, I think.
That's great. And that leads me to my follow-up question. How long ahead do you think that road is? Like, how many years do you think and you be able to go for like a 2-week trip to the moon, let's say, for example, since that's one of the
Yeah, maybe our great grandkids. Not sure.
Oh, wow.
Great, grand.
That's a long time. I was thinking it would be closer, man. Like, look at Elon Musk. He's doing all these crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cost problem, fundamentally. But definitely, I mean, there will be hopefully people on the moon within a few years. I mean, we're hoping to do it in 4 years. So that might be reachable. And I think, I mean, we've been there before, so that's not a huge leap. But
yeah. I mean,
but I think getting the cost down and actually making it more. I mean, because it's a big issue too with having people. I mean, it's pretty risky, right? So
yeah,
you want to get that down as well.
That's awesome. So are bookings open for the 3 nights, 4 days package?
Yeah.
We'll have this session at the moon next time. So someday we'll redo this session again at the moon.
Definitely.
It's just
So,
yeah.
Any crazy questions, Shafuz, before we do get to current closing?
No, I think and Chris shot down my question about the UFO. So I'm my bag's all empty. So I think, yeah, I think we could just head towards our recommendation part of it. Like, Chris, like, what recommendations do you have for like current early stage professionals, maybe recent graduates who are still trying to figure out their career, especially in this economy? Or with the job application process? Any recommendation or advice you would like to share?
I mean, I think from my experience, I think what I found is that it's just very important to just put yourself out there and apply a lot, of course, but also be selective in like where you apply. Don't just apply to everything. You want to apply to things where you think you can actually produce work that's going to be good, right? Where both for you and for the company. So be selective in what you're going to apply for, and don't stress too much. I think that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Just because it's very tempting to just be very stressed and just try to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe go for something that isn't actually the right fit.
Very true. I completely agree with that. I think, Chris, what you said was very valuable, because it's sort of when you're preparing for exams when you're in college, right? You always cram for the last day, and the same thing happens with the job search. It's like where you're just like, oh, I really, really need a job now. And like sending applications day and night, and you're like wondering why people aren't reaching out. It's because it's a longer term process. You gotta give it time to make it slow.
And you think everything you need everything right away,
Exactly. You don't.
You don't really do that, do you?
Me? No, I don't care about it. I got up one day and I was like, oh, I don't want to work anymore.
Yeah, Chris, definitely very interesting viewpoints there, because most people usually would say apply as much as you can. It's a numbers game, but I definitely like a different perspective here, that to be at least more selective. So I think that's interesting. That's definitely very valuable. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
I mean, it definitely still is a numbers game. So you got to apply to a lot. You're gonna get rejected a lot too. If you don't get rejected a lot, that's great.
Okay, good on you.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much, Chris. Oh, where do you guys go? There you are.
You just made us move.
For joining us, Chris. This has been super awesome. Thanks for the advice. Actually, if you want to hang out after we close this live stream, I actually have some more questions about space for you. So if you want to chill with us, just me and your Fruz for a little bit. But
thanks for having me.
Yeah, Chris. Most definitely. So anyone still on, you can go check out Chris on LinkedIn. You might see an older photo of him, which is very professional. But yeah, that's still him. So make sure to go check him out. Shoot him a message if you're considering working in this industry. And he'll be sure to help you guys out. Other than that, Chris, closing thoughts?
No, I mean, it's great work you're doing. And yeah, thanks a lot for having this. For sure. All right. And I'll take a to-do for myself, Chris. I will go ahead and leave a Glassdoor review for NASA saying the work culture is awesome, but the security system's flawed.
There's too much security there.
Too much security. It's just not efficient for the workers.
They'll just think you're trying to rob NASA or something. You're trying to infiltrate. Sounds like someone who's trying to infiltrate but failed.
All right. Thanks
All right.
And we'll catch you next
time. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing to receive a notification next time we post. Catch you next time.
Wow.
Okay. Like this?
My God.
Oh.
My God.